Really good content, but watch this. Watch this one. It is totally worth seeing.
I grew up in Zakwa City. After graduating from nursing school, then I working with the U.S. Special Forces. So we worked with the U.S. Forces for 6 years, shoulder to shoulder, every single day.
As a helicopter pilot, the interpreters were there on the ground with U.S. infantry. It was local interpreters on the ground making sure that the LZ was safe for us to come in. They were like brothers in arms. They were our comrades. They were in the fighting positions with us. They faced the same dangers. In fact, they faced even greater dangers because even as they were helping us, their families were there. Their families could be targeted.
That's why they promised us, we promise you, we're not going to leave you behind. We were scared until we left Turkey, and then we know we are safe.
Operation Iraqi Freedom.
When U.S. decides to go back to Iraq again, I spent 2 years training National Guards in Louisiana and also New Jersey. Then I deployed to Kurdistan again, Erbil U.S. Consulate. I spent another 4 years over there. Now I'm working with the senator. You know, she served my country during the Iraq War.
You're not going to find a more patriotic American than Abdullah, and someone who's literally put his life on the line for this country even before he became a citizen. With the U.S. pullout from Afghanistan, we are about to leave literally thousands of interpreters behind, and that puts a target on their backs and on their families. Many of these interpreters and observers carried our wounded troops off that battlefield, and as someone who was carried off a battlefield myself, I can tell you that the phrase that we do not leave a fallen comrade behind is indelibly marked on my psyche.
For those guys, it's been 20 years. Coalition has been in Afghanistan, and you woke up in the morning, everything is gone. They don't know what to do right now, honestly.
But we need to bring them all out of Afghanistan. They believe truly in our cause and in protecting our troops, and now we owe them.
I know exactly how they feel. I've been in the same situation in Iraq. We need to take them too.
So this is what we need to do. We have to physically get them and their families out of Afghanistan because they will be hunted down and retaliated against by the Taliban. I want to go straight to the airlift them out of there. And by the way, America's word is on the line here. How are we ever going to go into any other country in the future, should there be a future conflict, and say to the folks there, help us, work with Americans, we'll take care of you. And they're going to turn around and say, but you didn't take care of your Afghan translators. So this is about keeping our word to a group of people who upheld American values and bled, and some of them died for America even before they become Americans. We have to take them too.
That President Biden tonight just authorized a whopping $100 million to go toward evacuating Afghan translators who helped U.S. troops during our 20-year war there, along with their families. We expect that 2,500 of them will be evacuated to a U.S. military base in Virginia next week. Last night, the Wall Street Journal reported that as many as 35,000 of them will be housed at U.S. military bases in Kuwait and Qatar.
They're hunting these people down one by one systematically, and it's for a purpose. They're trying to convince future partners that American friendship is a death sentence. And the so what of all of this is that in addition to having a moral obligation to saving these people's lives, because we made a promise that if they served with us, we'd take care of them, we're going to have to stand to then suffer higher casualty rates in future wars if we don't take care of these people now, because no one's ever going to believe us again. This program has existed for over 13 years. And in that time, not a single nefarious individual has ever snuck through. These people had to be vetted just to even work with us overseas. So they've already gone through some extensive vetting just to be able to serve alongside U.S. forces. And the reality is that the Taliban does not care about our standard of vettings of who gets a visa and doesn't. If you worked a day with us, they're going to kill you.
During the long U.S. war in Afghanistan, U.S. troops enlisted the help of thousands of Afghan interpreters who assisted the U.S. mission at great personal risk to themselves. Those interpreters and other people who served in support roles for U.S. forces, they're now in very acute danger, very severe danger of being targeted by the Taliban as the Taliban rushes to overtake the country. And they took risks to support U.S. forces. The question is whether the U.S. can make good on its promise to take care of them In this case, that means to evacuate them out of the country in very short order. Joining us now.
America keeps its promise. When I was a platoon commander in Afghanistan, I worked with several interpreters who were with me when we hit IEDs, who were with me as we talked to village elders in Taliban-controlled villages. I made promises personally to them, and I want to keep them. Still a years-long timeline. There needs to be immediate action to relocate these interpreters from Afghanistan to third countries so that they can have a safe place to apply for the SIV program.
Major Schumann calls the interpreter Zach. That is not his real name. Zach was just a young man when he teamed up with the U.S. troops in the Battle of Sanjin. Very few interpreters ventured to do so because that particular area was so dangerous. Day in and day out, Zach risked his life to help the U.S. troops. On one occasion, in November 2010, Zach overheard a radio conversation that the Americans had intercepted featuring a Taliban commander. He heard enough to gather where the enemies were hiding. Schumann told him they'd dispatch a unit as soon as they could, but Zach knew they couldn't wait long. So he crossed the field on his own and tackled the Taliban commander. He saved many lives that day. In another instance, Zach picked up the rifle of a wounded American soldier and assisted U.S. troops in battle. Zach worked for the U.S. Marines for 9 months before going to work for about 2 years with a contractor who provided services to the U.S. Army. Despite all his work, Zach has been denied a visa to come to the U.S., has heard from the Taliban. The group sees Zach as a traitor who protected the Americans. They want him dead. They sent him letters asking him to surrender, to pay a ransom or die. He received the last letter 2 weeks ago.
Native Marine Schumann, and he talks about the fact that an interpreter who risked his life to save this Marine Corps officer is now at risk himself.
I saw that. I read that article.
Can you give me your assurance, as you've been asked by Senator Leahy and others, that this will be a high priority to protect those men and women and their families whose lives are at risk because they were willing to stand up on our side?
Yes, absolutely.
That was June 8th. It's been almost 2 months and still no answer, which sadly means the situation for hundreds of Afghan nationals who fought alongside our troops are currently in limbo.
This is an administration that champions itself as a defender of human rights. Well, here it is. Here's one of those moments that we are all raised on as children, that if we fail to do this, mass murder is going to take place. And we have all of the means to prevent it. We just now need the courage and conviction to do the right thing.
Broadly, to announce what the plan is to get these translators out because time is so short. Today, we finally got a substantive announcement from the White House about that. This is from a senior White House the last week of July. For operational security, we won't have additional details on when flights will depart, but we will meet President Biden's commitment to begin flights this month. You know, all of those details in the announcement give us more information than we had before, but, you know, there's still a lot left out. And as they say, it's understandable that some of these details are left out on purpose for operational security. But the basics still sort of loom as unanswered questions. Where are these translators going to go once they leave Afghanistan? In addition to the question of where they're going, there's the question of how they'll get there. The only flights out of Afghanistan right now are out of the capital city of Kabul, but Afghanistan is a big country and internal travel is not that easy. This is interesting. Today, the Association